Hey, what's going on folks? My name is Kyan, and here for you today, we are going to briefly learn about the history and poems of award-winning American Asian poet, Cathy Song. Poetry has lived on through generations around the world, serving as representations of the writers as people, their environment/time period, and the ideals they or their fellow community held. In general, poetry usually serves to represent something of value. Cathy Song, for instance, represents Chinese and Korean culture from her heritage, along with the values of womanhood and being bound to family and tradition within culture and society. But to see why she desired to have these ideals sewn into the finer threads of her work, let's first take a look at her origin. Cathy Song was born August 20th, 1955 in Wahiawa, Hawaii. At a young age, Cathy and her family often went on trips that inspired the talented future poet to write about experiences with family. After high school, she continued writing and eventually graduated from Boston University in 1981 with a Master's of Fine Arts degree. Not long after, Song won the prestigious Yale Series of Younger Poets Award in 1982 with her most notable work, Picture Bride. During this time frame, Song also married her husband, Douglas Davenport. Song spent her time living and writing in the West, yet grew up in a household that held traditional values of the East, specifically Chinese values. While having nothing but love for her family and heritage, from her years of living in the West, she's learned the importance of individuality and not being a carbon copy of her mother or any other family member. She has interwoven both heritage and individuality into her poems in order to show what true creativity can be. But what exactly is her style? How does she express herself through the writing itself? Cathy Song consistently fills her poems with rich narratives and imagery. She often uses repetition, symbolism, and metaphors, with underlying themes of womanhood all blended together. Song especially loves to have a sudden eruption of metaphors in most of her poems. Sometimes she also puts heavy emphasis on the female body, going into vivid detail and imagery. Her style is often based on pretentiously on phrasal pauses to create impact on syntax. Let's go ahead and analyze a few of Cathy Song's poems to identify some of these key features. Starting off with an excerpt of the poem Heaven. He thinks we will die when we go to China. Think of it, a Chinese heaven, where, except for his blonde hair, the part that belongs to his father, everyone will look like him. China, the blue flower on the map, bluer than the sea. His hand must span like a bridge to reach it, an octave away. He thinks when we die we'll go to China. Think of it, a Chinese heaven. In these lines and throughout the poem, China is seen as sort of a heaven or lovely place Cathy and her family will peacefully end up one day. There is a phrasal pause with the think of it to place emphasis on a Chinese heaven. In these lines, where, except for his blonde hair, the part that belongs to his father, everyone will look like him, it highlights the idea of stemming from a family member and being part of a whole heritage of people. China, that blue flower on the map, bluer than the sea, his hand must span like a bridge to reach it, an octave away. In these lines, there is imagery of how she perceives the beauty of China, but yet how far away it is, being an octave away. It shows how China is this fantasized, unreachable location to her, kind of like heaven. Now, let's take a look at another excerpt from the poem The Youngest Daughter, where Cathy is having bath time with her mom. When I wheeled her into the bath, she was in good humor, making jokes about her great breasts, floating in the milky water like two walruses, flaccid and whiskered around the nipples. I scrubbed them with a sour taste, and my mouth thinking, 6 children and an old man have sucked from these brown nipples. Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said she went into great detail about the female body. But in these lines, you see the comparison to walruses with imagery of the milky water, along with good old mother and daughter bonding. One last short excerpt from the poem The Man Moves the Earth highlights Song's more traditional views of societal roles of men and women. The man moves earth, the woman sweeps air. Together they pull water out of the other. Pull with the muscular ache of the living. Today, Cathy Song is a noted teacher and creative leader through Hawaii's Poets in the Schools program, where she critiques inspiring poets and hones in on writing something made outside of yourself. She has spent the majority of her life representing not only Asian heritage, but that heritage mixed together with Western ways of life to show what it's like being both a woman and Asian in America. I gotta say, she's a pretty cool poet if I do say so myself, which is further exemplified by her respect amongst poets and her many awards she has received. At age 67, Cathy Song continues to write poems to this very day.